meeting. You'll see in the packet that we really took to heart your comments and wanted to ensure that the product we were delivering was consistent with your vision for the town and the site context as well. So I did prepare a brief presentation this evening. We can go through it if you would like. It's there as a resource. We don't have to. We have just some of the renderings from the architecture. Some of the key differences between last month and today are we removed the exterior roof ladder that we discussed at length at our November meeting. We moved that inside, so that's no longer on that north facade, and you will not see that at all. And then all of the meters and whatnot are actually screened by the screen wall that is shown there. So the only thing you'll see on that north facade are 2 exterior doors, and then we'll have enhanced landscaping there as well. One of the other key differences is we replaced the Nichiha panels that we had proposed with a plank siding, horizontal siding that we thought was a little more in character with the Key West direction as requested. And we added some more stone feature to the opposite tower of the entry tower. We also deepened the fascia and the brackets more in line with that coastal architecture style. So those were some of the key differences. There are renderings if you'd like to take a look at them, but I'm here for any questions you may have.
Does anyone want to see the presentation?
I read it.
You read it? Okay. Anyone?
I just want to thank you.
Oh, by all means. Oh my goodness, we appreciate that. So.
Yeah.
And I want to thank the planning board, Joseph and Larry also. But thank you so much.
Certainly, certainly. I wanted to make sure that we could demonstrate our commitment to customer service. That's our key value as a company, and to, make sure we could demonstrate that to you today and through the final product. And thank you to Larry, who was incredibly helpful in working together and making sure we could get you these in advance to get your feedback. It sounds like we have a favorable product. So,
Joanne, do you have any comments?
No, I was thrilled to see the changes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to say that, I want to echo what's been said. I saw incremental changes to this point, lots of discussion, especially the last time. Mm-hmm. But particularly the softening of the look and the way it blends in, I think it's just fabulous. So I appreciate the work that's been done.
Thank you. Yes, and I'd be remiss if I didn't credit our architect, Larson Design Group. They are here today, so.
Well, we appreciate you having listened. Brenda, do you have comments?
I just have a couple comments.
Certainly.
The first question was going to be if the stair was moved inside, what's behind the wall? Thank you for addressing that. And I love that idea, because to have that shielded with something permanent will be very nice.
Right.
Plus, out of sight, out of mind. Yes. And forgive me if I overlooked the signage, but we do have requirements on a minimum amount of signage per wall. Do you have an idea? Maximum, sorry.
We did not include any signage renderings in this submittal. I think on the first and second revisions, there is a dashed kind of box that represents the maximum copy area, and that would be placed on the facade. So our ultimate signage would be within that, but we don't know what the name of the business will be yet. Mm-hmm. I know it will be a dental office, but exactly what the text and the image would be is unknown at this time.
And I do remember that box. I just didn't see it carry through. So it's a maximum of 2 signs?
Yes, there's a maximum of 2 signs for this property. We consider it a corner lot, so there's 32 square feet maximum. And the second sign would be 50% of that.
I just wanted to clarify. The colors don't print well on our pages, so I stopped by to take a look at the Sherwin-Williams. I see you transferred from Benmore to Sherwin-Williams, which is your neighbor. And they're beautiful. They're lovely. They're creamy and very in keeping, but still sophisticated like the dental office should be.
Thank you.
And I just want clarification. The trash is going to stay where it is on the site plan, Larry?
Yes.
Okay.
They did amend the location of the dumpster. I don't know if you've reviewed the landscape sheet. There is no sightline obstruction. They relocated the sidewalk, and actually they've screened the dumpster besides having the 6-foot screen fence.
Yeah, I, again, just wanted verification, but I'm excited. It's a beautiful building. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to say myself that I love the attention to the materiality change, and it did enrich the design, and we always look for high quality and good design, and you've achieved that. We're very thankful for that.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We wanted to correspond with the Public Center especially. They use a lot of a warmer tone, rough edge stone, so we kind of pulled that into our design as well, kind of harmonize with that building.
Larry, is there anything that we need to address other than, I mean, obviously the aesthetics of this are fine, the site plan?
Right, that was the only objection to approving the plan. That, and there was a couple of concerns about the site plan, and we resolved that with the dumpster. The handicap spaces have been moved closer to the front entrance.
Okay.
Really nothing else unless the board has some other concerns.
Anyone else, any concerns? Open it up to the public. Jamie, you can have a seat for now. We'll open this up to the public. Anyone have any comments? Seeing none, it's close to the public. I guess we're ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of application SP number 22-09-01.
Second motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Congratulations. This will be moving on to the City Commission.
Joseph, just one announcement. This has to go before the City Commission for final approval, the Planning Board's recommendation. And just to let you know, it will be on the agenda first meeting of City Commission next year, which would be the second Thursday?
Second Thursday in January, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, new business application PPT number 22-12-01. Excuse me. Consider approval of preliminary plat titled Beach Park Village, a planned unit development, single-family residential subdivision on 48.17 acres, 300 Roberts Road. Larry?
Yes, sir. This is the first step in the process of finalizing a final plat, which is required Florida statute, as well as the preliminary plat. A little quick history summarized in the staff report. This site plan and the preliminary plat is the culmination of a approval that was rendered by the city, I believe it was in June or July of last year, for the PUD. This step requires two documents. One is the preliminary plat, which is a legal document that will be recorded. The second document is really the heart and soul of the development itself, is the construction plans. Those plans have been reviewed by Mead Hunt. David King is here this evening to answer any questions that you may have with respect to those construction plans. And Mr. Derek Satino, KB Homes, is here as well to answer any questions that you may have with respect to the preliminary plat, and also comments that we just very recently received from the surveyor, who actually was a sub-consultant to Mead Hunt, to review the preliminary plat for compliance with statutory requirements. I don't really have any comments about the preliminary plat per se. More so, I have comments with some outstanding materials that are essential to enable this project to move forward. One of those is a right-of-way permit. Actually, there's on-site improvements, obviously, for the subdivision. There are also off-site improvements, which consist of turn lanes on Roberts Road, actually to coincide with the development across the street to preserve. As yet, we have not received approval of those documents. Those are under the jurisdiction of Flagler County, since it is a county road. And as yet, we have not received responses to comments that were addressed by the applicant and resubmitted to Flagler County. So we're hopeful those will be forthcoming quite soon. Secondly, is to resolve tree removal and site clearing. We have not yet resolved a replacement and removal program. We have individual materials, but none that have been consolidated to arrive at a conclusion, if you will, to determine what needs to be addressed by the developer as it relates to removal of trees above and beyond what the landscape plans indicate. So we're hopeful that we are able to have that information when the preliminary plat advances to the City Commission. Frankly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Drew, I don't believe not having that information, the construction plans and the off-site, that may be another matter, but as far as the tree removal goes in that particular aspect, and in talking with David King as well, we feel that we can still allow that development to move forward as we have other control points as we move further into the process.
Yeah, I had actually written a note down here when you got done to ask you the question if you would be okay with the condition, if the motion is to approve tonight, a conditional approval, more advice to the applicant that they will have to have that information in before a final plat is approved. But at preliminary stage, I agree with you that there's still time to get that in before final plat. So that was a question I had for you, and if you're good with it, I'm good with it also, yes.
I have no other comments. Open for any questions.
I have a question because I was not on the board in June 2021. Can you explain the history? I know it was owned by someone else. Did they get plat approval? And this is...
No, the initial development, the owner at that time applied for rezoning to a plan unit development, which will be renamed master plan development when the new land development code is adopted. He went through the rezoning process. A development agreement was crafted, approved by the City Commission, certain commitments that the applicant would have to abide by. The owner did not take any action to move forward with construction plans or preliminary plat, sold the development, if you will, to KB Homes. KB Homes is now picking up where the previous owner left off and is moving forward with the preliminary plat and the construction plans.
Thank you.
So you had mentioned earlier, Larry, that the turn lanes and all those other planning items that we had discussed back when we were reviewing the preserve, that would still be intact, and that's something that could be addressed down the line, is what we're saying.
Yes.
It's all part of the developer agreement. The developer is still obligated by that development agreement to do those, yes. So it's not essential that it be nailed down at preliminary plat stage, yes, correct.
And this will still be just a single-family residential development.
Correct, 112 units.
Are there any questions?
I just had one. On this document, it says, and I don't know if it's mandatory, but there should be 2 egress, ingress roads if it's more than 51 units. I've never seen that before, so I just wondered.
It is on the preliminary plat. There's the main point of ingress and egress, which is the main entrance into the development. Also on the plat, there is an easement that has been granted to the city to allow for emergency access.
And I guess this is what you were talking about with the roads and the curves and everything, like the fire truck, the big fire truck getting around all the bends and the dead ends and things. That was another concern.
Yes, all of those development issues, if you will, are studied during the approval process.
Okay, that's all.
And I might add that secondary access is just not for, well, it's for emergencies, but it's also for evacuation.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Scott? Brenda?
Sorry, I'm a question person. So you have the construction documents, you say, the construction plans?
The construction plans, I do not have. The construction plans were reviewed by Mead Hunt, David King and his staff. They have approved all items that were outstanding. I can't speak to how many submittals were made between Mead Hunt and Matthews Design Group, who is the design engineer for KB Homes. But my last understanding is that the only outstanding item now is waiting for approval of the construction documents for the off-site improvements by Flagler County. So that is one of the conditions that I wrote in my recommendations, that in addition to the tree survey and everything that's associated with that we need to see the approved permit that's issued by Flagler County for their right-of-way improvements.
The reason why I'm asking is I had spoken to you. To me, you have to have sidewalks. That's the soul of a community. And per what you wrote in the documents, that there will be sidewalks on one side of the feeder road.
Internally, yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Just so important. Because it's, is it going to be a 25-foot buffer on the wet land?
There's a 25-foot upland buffer that borders the jurisdictional wetlands. There's a 20-foot buffer on the other 3 sides, north, south, and the west.
So I did read that correctly. And I'm just wondering if someone from the engineering team, the site engineering team, visited post Ian or Nicole to see how the water reacted and if the setbacks are still, strong and secure for the homes that are going to be on that side.
Yeah, that, I can't speak to that, whether there was a site visit or not. There is minimal, once you are west of the jurisdictional wetlands, there's only 2 isolated wetlands on the entire 48 acres. And there are 25-foot buffers around those internal wetlands as well.
Yeah, I'm just curious because I know people that were on the west side of Lambert that in certain times saw those little creeks come in. So it was just a question with what we've all been through and the sensitive nature of the water.
It's a good question, but one thing you have to recognize also is that when the subdivision on Lambert Avenue was built, it was built under completely different
Rules.
Actually, maybe no rules. To build today, finished floor elevation, they have to be at least 1 foot minimum, and I'm not sure what the developer has planned, but, you know, it should be basically, as it is now, 2 feet above base flood elevation.
And I had a question about the 1 point of ingress and egress, because from a developer standpoint and from someone living in a community, it does add to the security of the community, and the outside traffic flow isn't as great when there is one way, so the breakaway is a good alternative.
Yes, I might add the streets are private as well. It won't be a gated community, but the streets are private.
So all the more reason that 1 point of ingress and egress for the public is a good thing for the community. And then I had asked you this question, if you wouldn't mind, is there, I guess there's no one here that could answer where that 20-foot easement goes into Track C. We know it's going to be under the road, but what that 20-foot buffer between the houses is going to look like.
The 20-foot buffer, the perimeter buffer you're speaking of?
No, it was on page 505 that I bothered you with the other
okay.
day.
You're talking about the drainage easement and from the retention pond.
Yeah.
David, what the board member is speaking about is there's a
I have it here.
retention pond on the easterly side of the development, and it's piped. And the question was, is that going to be swale or is that going to be piped? And it appears to me, it looks like it's an outfall line that goes from the retention pond into the wetland area.
As I recall, and I don't have the drainage plans in front of me, by the way, David King with Bean Hunt, they don't have any surface drainage. Everything's underground with pipes, so I don't think there's a swale, but I think that typical width is where you take a pipe through so you can maintain that pipe too, so you don't have any structures being built up within so many feet of that pipe. So I believe that's all it is. I think it's just going to be grassed with a buried pipe.
Absolutely the answer I would want to hear. Thank you. That's all I have.
Larry, so this would be a recommendation to move forward with conditions for the PUD, the master site plan, today?
Be a recommendation for approval of preliminary plat.
Preliminary plat, okay. So eventually we'll see some kind of the landscape plan, and or we won't see that?
The landscape plan was actually in this document.
But they'll also see it again at final.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they'll come back before us again, is that,
Well-
or just the city commission?
It will be, but it will be sometime in the future. It's not something that will probably happen in the next 6 months or so.
But final plat will be back here in front of our board. They will see all of
Correct.
this again.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. And then as far as KB Home goes as the developer, they will, I guess they just create their own architectural standards, and we have no control over, or not control, but
The architectural standards were incorporated into the development agreement. Anything that goes through the building department when they pull a permit, if there's something that is not in the development agreement that the city requires, the city can institute those requirements that the architectural guidelines that the city has above and beyond what they may have in the development agreement.
I don't recall what those guidelines were. Do you have a recollection of any of that?
I don't.
Okay.
No. But I can tell you there'll be good-looking units, and I don't mean to be speaking on behalf of KB Home, but it should be a welcome addition into the city.
Okay, I'm just want to make sure that we would consider the high quality. Any other questions? No? Open it up to the public then? Open it up to the public. Seeing no one come up close to the public, then we can entertain a motion, Drew? Okay.
Motion for conditional approval of the preliminary plat for application 22-12-01.
And the condition of that approval being that the applicant understands that they will have to provide the checklist items that Mr. Trino spoke about by the time they're applying for their final plat application. Is that the condition?
Yes.
I second, yes, I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, seeing no opposed, then approval for conditional preliminary plat, or recommendation for preliminary plat approval. Okay.
That's where the agenda ended.
That's where agenda ended, and I'm looking at that. Other business?
Board comment.
Board comments.
And adjournment.
Any board comments? Well, if we don't see each other until
Merry Christmas.
Christmas, Happy New Year,
Yes,
New Year.
Feliz Navidad.
let's hope it's a better one.
Motion to adjourn.
I always move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor? All right, thank you all. Happy holidays.